Hello and welcome to another episode of The Corporate Etiquette, a show where we break down the corporate world so you can make better sense of it. My name is Laura and this is the second part of last week's video on how to manage your manager. So if you didn't manage to see that already, I will put a link up here and also in the description. Do check it out because I think it really contains a lot of good information on how to improve your working relationship with your direct line manager. And give this video a thumbs up if you already watched it and came back for more. I really appreciate it and it really does help out the channel. Other than that, I hope you are surviving the heat wave we are currently in, and I want to apologize for the lack of lighting in this video, but I really couldn't even imagine turning on the lights since it's already quite warm in my apartment. In last week's video, we talked about how you should set up a working agreement with your manager and also what you should cover in your one-to-one operational and tactical meeting that happens usually every week, if not every other week, depending on your seniority. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then do go check out the previous video and let me know what you think. In this video, we're going to cover how you should structure your career development meeting and so let's kick things off with the career development meeting. As I mentioned in last week's video, you should have a separate career development talk with your manager because if you try to merge this with your operational weekly meeting, then it often happens that your career aspirations and your performance kind of fall to the end of the meeting and you don't actually have enough time to discuss them with your manager. And just to be clear, I'm not actually implying that there's any malice going on here. It's not like your manager is purposefully trying to avoid discussing your career with you. It just happens that some weeks have more operational things to discuss, especially if you are perhaps working on multiple projects or on projects with a lot of high visibility, then yeah, I can easily see how discussing things will take the whole hour and there's simply no time left at the end for you in particular. This is why when you are defining your sync frequency as part of your working agreement, make sure that you also include how often you want to talk about your career development. Generally, increasing your skills or increasing your visibility is a longer time span kind of action, which is why I would encourage you to not place your career development meeting more often than perhaps once every 3 weeks or maybe even just once a month. Of course, the frequency of this meeting is ultimately up to you and your manager, whatever you think is appropriate. However, I really do think that more than once a month is overkill, and you will find it hard to actually keep up with the work that you have to do to develop your career. So after you've discussed with your manager how often you're going to meet and talk about this, go ahead and put it in your calendar and make sure that it is a recurring event so that you don't skip any month. I think that your manager can definitely help in understanding and exploring what are the different paths that somebody in your career craft can have. It's also very important for you to sit down and be very honest with yourself as to what would make you happy? What do you want out of your professional life? This is what I commonly refer to as long-term career goals, and I actually have an entire video that I'm going to link up here and also in the description, and I really encourage you to go and watch that video and also just sit down and set these long-term career goals for yourself. It's very important to have this North Star of your personal development. And I just want to say off the bat, if you don't already have that, don't panic. It's totally fine. We all go through periods in our life where perhaps we're not sure or we really haven't stopped to think about where we are going, but that doesn't mean that we can continue like this indefinitely. So don't panic if you don't have these goals already, but just make sure that you take some steps in order to define them. This will ultimately also help your manager in making sure that these conversations are productive because they know what to do. They know into what direction they should be helping you. So of course, now that I've said all of this, you can totally understand that the first topic you should be discussing with your manager as part of this career development meeting is what are the opportunities that the company offers in terms of development for the path that you are on? Because there is no one industry standard that is applied across the board in every single company for every single career path, your company might have some specific titles, they might have some specific processes and procedures to get onto a particular career path, and it is your manager's responsibility to inform you of these and also to guide you as to how you can get access to them. And of course, because I am a product manager, I can give you some examples from product management. Generally, the career ladder will go up to senior, at which point in time you have to decide if you want to be an individual contributor and continue towards potentially getting promoted to a principal, or if you would like to go down the people management path and try to become a group product manager. And I actually think that this is true for many career paths. At one point, you will have to decide if you want to take on managing people or if you want to remain an individual contributor. And that being said, I also do want to stress here that there is no one choice better than the other. It really depends on your personal preferences, on your long-term career goals, and also just what inspires you and makes you enthusiastic about the job. The second thing that I really want you to focus on in your career development meeting is actually getting feedback on your current work. As I have mentioned many times before, really nobody likes it when the annual review comes around and you're just simply surprised about the things that your manager is saying in there. And I do want to stress that it is also, I think, your manager's responsibility to give you timely feedback. It is also some of your responsibility to make sure that you always ask and are prepared to receive it. And this is why I advocate to have a career development meeting, because it offers a natural checkpoint in both of your calendars where you can discuss these things. Not only that, it also gives you the opportunity to ask, in case that you do get some feedback that some of your work is perhaps not up to par, what are the actionable next steps that you can take in order to improve? What would your manager consider as improved performance on this topic? And I know that this might come across as just a little bit pedantic, but I do want to stress a little bit on this. If your manager is giving you feedback that you are not doing something right, for example, let's assume that your manager is giving you feedback that your meetings are not productive enough and they are very disorganized. Maybe they'll phrase it something along the lines of, a few stakeholders have approached me and they have raised concern over the fact that meetings on this project that you're working on are taking way too long and you're not really getting anywhere. Okay, this is fair feedback. Other people have mentioned it to our manager, so it's clearly something that we need to work on. However, what in this case constitutes improved performance? Is it simply that your stakeholders are a lot happier, or is there something else that you need to do and to show in order to prove the fact that you are improving on this? And as you know, the old time mantra, to assume means to make an ass out of you and me. I never recommend that you assume things about your career. So make sure that you ask your manager to clearly define what would be a good performance and what would be a great performance. Of course, having stakeholders no longer reach out to them and complain about how the meetings are going is definitely one way to show improvement, but they can also have in mind something along the lines of, I want you to have an agenda for every meeting, I want you to send out the meeting notes after every meeting, and also, if you see that things are taking more than X days, I want you to ask me for help. So go ahead and establish with your manager what are the artifacts that you need to create in order to prove an improved performance. And as I always say, you're probably absolutely sick of hearing this all of the time, put your agreement in a meeting and send it to your manager right after your development meeting, and also CC yourself so that you never lose the copy of this email. This way, there is a written record about what the two of you have agreed, and you can always consult it at a later date, because what if you have to do 5 things and you can only remember 3 of them? You don't want to keep on going to your manager to ask for something that has been agreed on. So you can simply open the email, read it back to yourself, and then you're good to go. That being said, when you're getting constant feedback on your performance, it may be the case that your manager doesn't really come up with precise things that you should be doing. Perhaps they're not even sure what they want themselves, and the lack of guidance can be a little bit frustrating. However, just because your manager cannot properly articulate what they want to see from you in terms of improved performance, that doesn't mean you should just forget about this comment and, calmly wait for the year-end review and be surprised again that this shows up in your annual review. And again, you probably won't be surprised by the advice that I have, but I really do encourage you to sit down and potentially talk to your mentor about what are some of the things that you can do in order to improve that area. After you think you've discovered a few that you might want to try out, put that in an email and send it to your manager. And I do want to stress here that you are not expected necessarily to come up with these improvement ideas on the spot. And, the minute the career development meeting has ended, that's it. You have no more chances to actually say how you would want to improve. This is not at all the case. So take the time and explore what options you have and what actions you can take. When you think you have the right 2, 3, 4, 5 actions that you would like to explore, put that in an email and send it to your manager. Again, these don't have to be super long emails, and I know they might be a little bit gut-wrenching to write, but please understand these are tools that will help you in your career and will eventually cover your ass if things should go wrong. For example, you can send an email such as, "Hi, I've considered the feedback you've given me on improving my presentation skills. I came up with a few things that I can take on in order to work on this. Take an online class, present my team's project updates in the weekly status meeting. I will be done with the class by the 1st of August. Afterwards, are you okay with me taking over the status update? Please confirm over email and let's further discuss in our next career development meeting how to proceed. If you have any other suggestion on what I should do, please let me know. All the best." As you can see, these are just a few simple short lines. It's not very complicated. It's quite straightforward, but it has 3 important components. First, it shows that you are actively listening when they are giving you feedback. You didn't just throw away that comment. You took it as an improvement area and you're trying to do something to get better about it. Secondly, it shows that you are self-directed because you already came up with things that you can act on without waiting around for your manager to explicitly tell you, go take an online class and learn how to do better presentations. And let me add a shameless plug because I actually have a video on how to do presentations. So if that is one of the things you want to work on, just click right there. And last but definitely not least, the third most important element in that very short email is inviting them to give their opinion. You are giving your manager the opportunity to reflect on what you have told them and tell you if there was perhaps a third option that you didn't think about and that they would like to see you work on. See how many things you can achieve in an email that takes literally 5 minutes to write? It really is like that sometimes, and these small emails that might seem inconsequential in the moment will actually be the building blocks to you improving not only your skill, but your advancement in your career. If you found today's video useful, do give it a thumbs up because it really does help out the channel. Go watch part 1 if you haven't done so already. The link is in the description. And you can also click subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified every time I put out a new video. That's it for today. Have a good one.